Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's talk. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us for the workshop, Degrees of Pressure, Navigating Anxiety and Stress in Academia. My name is Alyssa Gardner. I'm the director of the Grad Academy at UNLV's Graduate College. So, of course, I want to thank our team, our Graduate College team, including our dean, Alyssa Crittenden, my colleagues, Shantae Payne and Diane Dulce, who helped make today happen. And then we have some support today as well from Grad Rebel ambassadors and my colleague, Elijah, you might have met out in the hall, and our graduate assistant, Ayola. So before I officially begin and introduce our speaker, just a couple notes. If you have a mobile device, if you'd please silence it. There'll be opportunities throughout to ask questions throughout, and if you picked up a question card, we'll collect those too if we have a little extra time for questions later. You can just hold up your card for us to collect, and a team member will grab it. And then I also wanted to note that we are recording today's workshop, so it will be made available on the Graduate College YouTube channel later, so thank you very much, UNLV TV, for being here with us. All right, so before we officially begin, we want to start by acknowledging and honoring the land on which we gather, so please turn your attention to the screen.
The University of Nevada, Las Vegas wishes to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities of this region and recognize that the university is situated on the traditional homelands of the Nuwuvi Southern Paiute people. We offer gratitude for the land itself, for those who have been stewarding it for generations, and for the opportunity to study, learn, work, and be in community with this land. We encourage everyone in the UNLV community to engage in continued learning about the indigenous peoples who work and live on this land since time immemorial, including the Las Vegas Paiute tribe and the Mawapa Band of Paiutes, and about the historical and present realities of colonialism. As one of the most diverse universities in the United States, UNLV believes it is important to recognize and appreciate the use of Southern Paiute land as part of its mission to be a welcoming and inclusive place for working and learning.
Okay, so here we go. I couldn't be more excited to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Catherine Hecht. She is not only a renowned practicing clinical psychologist, author, speaker, and educator, but she is a very longtime dear friend of mine, so I'm going to say a few words about her. So grateful that we are able to merge our professional lives today. So, being friends with Catherine has always made me feel braver, and it should be no surprise that helping people become brave became the key motivation of the work that she does every day. So here are just a few of her many accomplishments. She earned her doctorate at the University of Minnesota's Institute of Child Development and completed her doctoral internship at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. As a practicing psychologist, she provides specialized assessment and treatment of anxiety, OCD, and related issues in youth. She's a professional member of several associations and foundations and serves on the board of trustees for Groves Learning Organization. She also supervises advanced PhD students who are learning to provide specialized treatment for anxiety and OCD. She has authored academic publications as well as practical tools for braver kids, including the Be Brave activity book and Dare Dex activity cards. She has given talks in a variety of educational and professional settings across the country and became a TED.com featured editor pick after she presented this past summer at TEDx Minneapolis. So if you didn't think she was prolific enough, this accomplished woman is also a rock climber, marathon runner, a parent coach, and a mother of two very brave and adventurous little girls. She's an ideal expert to speak with you all today and share strategies for navigating anxiety and stress in academia, because we know where you all are at with that front. As I noted before, we are also buddies. So friends for almost 2 decades. We met during our bachelor's degree pursuits at the University of Minnesota. We've traveled the world. We've come to each other's family gatherings, hiked mountains, swung from trapezes, and, shared those kind of laughs you get like deep down in your gut, best kind. So I just want to thank her. So thank you so much for bringing kindness, perspective, laughter, adventure into my life. Thank you for being here with us today. And let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Catherine Hecht.
Easily the nicest introduction that anyone has ever given me. The blend of all the stuff that I do for a job, but also the life that I lead. Thank you, friend. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here at the start of a semester when, I'm sure you're not busy in any way, shape, or form. Super chill at this point, right? We're sort of in the middle of the year. This is fine. It's all fine. So here's what I'm hoping to do with you today. And actually, before I start walking through what I have on these slides, I would love to know who I'm sitting in the room here with. How many people in this room are grad students right now? Okay. How many people in this room are undergraduates? Okay. Is anybody in a supervisory role? Either I teach a class, I mentor students who are earlier than me, like younger in their career, or I am faculty. Okay, cool. That helps me. That'll help me tailor what we're talking about today. So here's what I'm hoping not to do. What I'm hoping not to do is explain to you the thing that you already know, which is that academia happens to be stressful. I do have a slide in there that says academia is stressful, and it gives you some numbers that says, yeah, academia is really stressful, being a grad student, super stressful. What I would really like to do is spend most of my time doing essentially the thing that I do on a day-to-day basis. So the vast majority of my time, I am a practicing clinical psychologist, and I'm an anxiety and OCD specialist. So I hang out with primarily kids, teens, and young adults, and I am essentially a professional bravery coach. Like, I help people be brave and help them manage when life gets unmanageable. So what I would really like to do is to give you a quick and dirty master's degree in anxiety treatment and management of stress. So if I have done my job right, at the end of this, you'll be able to walk out of that door with at least one thing that you're like, yeah, I could do that. I could try that. Okay, that's what I want to do. So I will first walk you through a quick start guide to anxiety and stress. What is anxiety? What is stress? We need this information if we're going to know what to do about it. We're also going to differentiate those two, because a lot of the time we use those terms interchangeably, and actually they are not interchangeable. They are different things and different phenomenon with different interventions that you'd want to focus on. We're then going to talk through an anxiety and stress roadmap. Here are the sort of like 3 or 4 things in each of those buckets, with the stress bucket and the anxiety bucket, that you might consider doing if you are finding that you are dealing with either a sense of overwhelm or a sense of anticipatory distress, like I'm worried that something bad's going to happen. As a bonus, we'll spend a little bit of time as well talking about helping others who are stressed out. So if you are in grad school, that means you are in a cohort of other students. You probably have some friends in grad school. Anybody know anyone else who happens to also experience anxiety? Okay, if your hands are up, thank you for listening. If your hands are not up, I'm going to ask you to just really reflect on that, because I would argue that probably everyone in this room has somebody who they know who is dealing with anxiety some of the time, if only because anxiety is a primary human emotion that we all have, right? So at some point, whether it's now or whether it's later, you will be confronted with somebody else who is freaking out where you are not. And I want to give you a couple of tools for here's how I can help somebody else navigate their own stressors, their own anxieties. Yes? Good? Okay. We are delightfully a small enough group that I am happy to field questions at any point in time. You can throw them out there if you would like. Part of the joy of having a room where I can effectively see the back of it just means that we can have a conversation in the middle of this if we want to. If you would prefer, though, feel free to save your questions to the end. I will do what I can to save some time. I am notoriously terrible at saving time at the end for questions, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try really hard. Okay? Yes? Yes. Let's do our quick start guide. So the first thing I always like to start with, if we're walking through what to do about anxiety or stress, is to differentiate the two. They are fundamentally different, and we're going to talk about the difference between fear, anxiety, and stress. So fear, I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan. I just think, why not? Why wouldn't you be? I think about Scooby-Doo when I think about the difference between these things. So fear is a present-oriented reaction to imminent danger, right? It is being actively chased by the ghost, right? There is an identifiable, very dangerous thing that is happening to you. You are experiencing a very strong reaction. Your sympathetic nervous system activates, right? Which means your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your digestion hits the emergency shut-off button, which is why you get butterflies or nausea or throw up or have diarrhea. And all of those things are designed to get you out of that danger, right? It is the emergency response system of your body. It's incredibly helpful if you are, in fact, being attacked by a tiger or something like that, right? It turns you into this sort of like supercharged human. You can run faster, you can fight harder. This is great. Anxiety is a future-oriented emotional reaction to something that may or may not happen, right? So that means it is a reaction to something that could or could not occur. However, all of the things I just listed, your sympathetic nervous system response, those all happen with anxiety as though the bad thing is happening right now, right? Our brain is very, very good at telling us spooky ghost stories, right? These really bad, like horrible outcomes, and the axe murderer comes out of the woods and he could get you. And it activates us in exactly the same way. And it does that, I'm gonna like beat to the punch here. It does that because it's actually adaptive, right? Anxiety is designed to minimize our, us putting ourselves in situations that are dangerous, right? So anxiety is incredibly aversive. It's very, very uncomfortable. Because it is so uncomfortable, we want to stop it. We want to get out of that situation as fast as we can. And all of that reaction, right? All of that sympathetic nervous system reaction is very uncomfortable as well. Stress is a slightly different beast. Stress is when your perceived demands upon you exceed your perceived capacity to handle those demands, right? Think about it in a mechanical sense. Like a chair is stressed if you put 400 pounds on it if the chair was not designed to hold 400 pounds. You're not sure if the chair is going to break, right? So we are stressed when we have too many plates spinning, when there is so much being put upon us that we're like, I just genuinely don't know if I can do all of this, right? Now, experiencing stress very often leads to anxiety because, again, if the brain is like a spooky ghost story generator, experiencing that state of I might not be able to do this means that our brain has this nice opportunity to tell us bad stories about all the terrible things that will happen, right? So stress very often leads to anxiety. However, it does not always, right? You can be quite stressed, but not have that prediction of a terrible outcome in the future that pushes you in the direction of I'm anxious about it. Yes, we have this? Okay. So, like I was saying before, I also want to make sure it's very, very clear. Anxiety and stress are both normal and adaptive, right? Anxiety is a primary human emotion. Everybody experiences it. There is no life without anxiety. If you told me I don't get anxious, I am sending you for probably an MRI. I'm concerned, right? Like there's a problem in your limbic system and we should really figure it out because it's incredibly risky to not experience anxiety. Stress as well. Stress is something that we all experience, particularly when, as one of my students puts it, we are living hard. If you are living a life of value, if you are living a life of meaning, you're probably being asked to do enough stuff or meaningful enough stuff that you're going to be stressed out at one point or another, right? So these things are not inherently problematic. In fact, sometimes they can actually enhance our performance. So when I work with kids and talk about this, I teach them what's called the Yerkes-Dodson law. So you see that little straight line in the back. Ooh, I think I got a pointer here. This. What most people, when I ask them, what do you think the relationship is between anxiety or anxious arousal and performance? This is the line that they will draw. They'll draw that straight line like that. Which is, if I am not particularly anxious, I'm going to do well. If I'm anxious, I'm going to do poorly. But the truth is, there's actually this sweet spot. Anxiety has a Goldilocks effect. Anxiety will enhance your performance up to a point, right? Because if you're sitting over here, this just means you don't care. You are disengaged, you're asleep, you're not likely to try very hard, right? However, this part is the part that people usually get right. If you are overly anxious, if you are extremely dysregulated, you're probably not going to have your A game going on. And you can actually draw additional sort of arcs here. Like we could draw 3 sort of superimposed bell curves that show that the harder something is cognitively, like, I don't know, writing a thesis, defending a dissertation, just the usual hard things. The harder something is, the lower you want the arousal to be for performance. If you are talking about something that is easy or automatic, if you are running a race, actually strong anxiety is a good thing, and that peak in your performance is a little bit further in the high arousal direction. So, okay, hopefully this leaves you feeling like, okay, anxiety is not inherently a problem, right? And stress is not inherently a problem. However, again, I told you I didn't want to like tell you things you already knew. That anxiety and that stress can become a problem, particularly when they get excessive. Here's just a smattering. I bet you that we could probably have like an hour-long conversation that would be really just like achingly awful on all the reasons that y'all are stressed right now, or all the reasons that you are anxious. But this would be a handful of versions of grad school stress, right? Financial strain. You won't have enough money to do, fill in the blank, very important thing, and it will end so poorly. You'll run out of time to do very important thing, to get the edits on that paper submitted, to collect your data before the deadline for what you need. This will ruin everything, right? Every time you ask a question, answer a question, present a project, every time you sneeze, everyone is looking at you and they are judging you. They're judging you so hard. Isolation and loneliness. That regular adult life that your friends who did the BA and then they're not in the they're not in grad school, they are living their sort of adult 9-to-5 life, that is not something accessible to the average grad student, right? You don't have the time, you don't have the money for the things that maybe some of your friends do. Perfectionism. This one I hear probably the most when I work with college-age students or grad students, which is, how do I know if I'm doing this right? How do I know if I'm doing this lit review right? How do I know if I got all the papers? How do I know if I caught everyone? How do I know if I am performing in a way that my advisor expects? There is a very simple answer to these questions, and the answer is, you don't know. No one knows, right? Because what we're talking about is something that is genuinely unknowable because there's too much uncertainty built in, right? There is no normal, right? What is normal when it comes to being a student or just a person, right? Which brings us to uncertainty in the future, right? I don't know what will happen. I can't know for sure. I can be pretty sure that I'll graduate, but I can't know for sure. I can be pretty sure that my dissertation committee will accept my defense and they will pass me, but I can't know for sure. I can be 99.99% that it's going to go well. But that 0.001% is what kills you, right? Because it's just enough of an opening for your brain to offer you up that terrible story. Unsurprisingly, here's the numbers I promised you. Grad students are stressed, and the anxiety that they are experiencing also ties to burnout. It ties to depression. Graduate students are more than 6 times as likely to experience depression and anxiety compared to the general population. So this, I don't know, when I presented some of this information to the students that I work with, they were like, yeah. Like there was no shock, no surprise. Everyone was like, and roughly 1 in 2, right? Like 46% of students are reporting feeling overwhelmed pretty much all of the time. That's hard. And I think, I don't have any faculty in this room, correct? No faculty. I think that this is really important for faculty to hear and to be aware of as well. And I think there's a growing appreciation for that, at least informally. But because this directly ties to faculty's financial investment in a student, because this is a huge contributor to leaving academia before a degree is done. So if we're all really anxious and we're all pretty stressed, where does problematic anxiety come from? And what pushes us across the line from I'm just pretty freaked out about this, or I'm experiencing anxiety some of the time, to I'm experiencing anxiety enough that it is getting in the way? I'm hoping there's not any developmental psychopathology graduate students in this auditorium, only because this slide is imperfect. Here's my perfectionist coming out and being like, oh, you did it wrong. I could break this up maybe 4 other ways. This is okay, it's the best I could get. But it would be impossible to do my job treating anxiety if I had to figure out exactly where anxiety comes from before tackling it, because it comes from too many places. You can be wired for worry, you can have a biological predisposition, you can have individual or temperamental factors, you can be socialized for anxiety. You can have single trial learning, meaning a dog bites you and now I have a dog phobia, right? You can have, it can come from pretty much anywhere. The good news for me is that regardless of where anxiety comes from, there is one significant thing that tends to keep anxiety around, maintaining it and making it worse. And that is avoidance. Avoidance is like the headliner. This is what will make anxiety worse. You're now about halfway to the quick and dirty master's degree in anxiety treatment. This is like the thing to know. I tell kids when I teach them this that like you're almost to sitting in my chair at this point, right? You sweet 8-year-old, come on up. It happens through a cycle of negative reinforcement. So I'm going to walk you through an example with social anxiety because that is something that we all share. We are all predisposed to have some degree of social anxiety because way back in caveman times, what would happen if you got kicked out of the group? If you got judged or criticized or rejected so hard that they set you free, you would die. So we all have some social anxiety here. What if I freeze up or say something awkward at that department party? Oh no! Even though I've met most of the faculty, I can't be sure that I won't do like the really cringy thing and no! My anxiety starts to build, right? My sympathetic nervous system is activating, my heart is racing, I'm starting to get sweaty, which just I feel bad, I feel gross. Oh, if I messed up, I would never live that down, and these faculty are the ones who are gonna decide my academic fate. This is terrible. I'll have to collaborate with them for like the next 10 years? I could never handle that. And of course, when you hit that peak, right, I feel the most terrible. My brain has ushered me into the movie theater that is, like the locked doors with anxiety, sort of sitting in the chair being like, look at this. It's press pause on the worst possible moment when I do the cringy thing. At that moment, that is the moment I want to escape. So I avoid the party. You know what? I don't really need to attend this thing, some permission-giving thoughts. I have to work on my thesis proposal anyway. It's totally fine. I'll wait until I know this group a little bit better, and then I'll be sure that I won't be awkward. And guess what? As soon as I commit to not going, all of that uncomfortable physical stuff, it's gone. I feel better. I'm instantly better, right? But my brain is going to associate avoidance with the answer. And it is going to strengthen this association, this fuse. Skipping the party is the only reason that the bad thing didn't happen. It's the only reason I dodged this life of academic failure and awkwardness. Now, if you put this in graph form, I don't think I have a slide for this. Okay. If you put this in graph form, what you'll find is that avoidance creates like a cell phone bars pattern for anxiety, right? The first time you avoid, you're anxious, but you avoid, you get relief. But the next time you're in that same situation, your anxiety is going to go up higher. If you avoid again, you'll get relief, but the next time it's going to go up higher. And the more you systematically avoid, the worse the anxiety gets. All right, congratulations, you know a lot about stress and anxiety now, or at least you know the pieces that we need to know what to do about it. I could talk to you about this for like 6 hours. So, if I'm glazing over things, ask me them as questions. All right, so let's talk about our stress and anxiety roadmap. The astute among you who have been listening to that first part will not be surprised by this first line, which is that our goal is not to get rid of anxiety or stress or uncertainty. And that is just because that is an impossible goal, right? You can't get rid of anxiety. It is a core human emotion. We can't get rid of stress if we're planning to live a rich and full and meaningful life. We can't get rid of uncertainty because we cannot possibly know what will come next in our lives, right? We can be pretty sure, but we can never be 100% sure. Our goal also can't be to prevent ourselves from experiencing distress or discomfort. Because again, if we're living that life we want to, if we're doing anything that we care about, any one of those uncomfortable feelings is going to show up, right? Our goal has to be to practice handling those things, to practice handling uncomfortable or uncertain situations, and to get more confident in the ability to handle those ups and downs, whatever they may be. Handleability, that is our goal. Another word for that is coping efficacy. That would be the researched term. So, I made you, I'm both proud and dismayed at this. I made you a flow chart. I'm proud because I made a flow chart and I had not attempted to do that before. I'm dismayed because it's terrible and I feel like I'm creating stress by offering it up to you because there's so many different arrows. It's fine, you don't really have to take too much away from it, aside from there's two major pathways that we're trying to get to, right? Are you freaking out? That's where we're always gonna start. If the answer is no, great. Congratulations, you're a minority. Are you freaking out? Yes? Cool. Let's take 5 slow breaths to downregulate that sympathetic nervous system reaction, right? Let's activate the parasympathetic response. Also, pro tip, if anybody has told you, oh, you're anxious, do some deep breathing. I get called on, the little kids will call BS on this every time they come into my office having seen someone else before, because they're like, yeah, everybody keeps telling me to breathe or whatever, and I'm still really scared of this. I'm still really anxious. And I would like to say that yes, you are right. Those other people were, to some degree, not telling you the truth here. Slow breathing does not change anxiety. It does not make you less anxious. What it should do, though, is downregulate that sympathetic nervous system response to the degree that you start to regain access to your frontal cortex. Because one of the things that will occur when you have a really strong sympathetic nervous system response is your limbic system pulls up a drawbridge and stops you from accessing your frontal cortex, where all of that thinking occurs, right? All that rationalizing, all of that decision making, all that analysis. And so we need to put the drawbridge back down if we're going to do anything else. So take the slow breaths. And here's the question. The real question is, are you feeling a sense of worry? I'm predicting something terrible is going to happen. Or are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling like there's way too much on my plate and I'm not sure I'm going to get it done? And which one is driving the other, if they are both present, right? What's disrupting your life more? I am going to walk you through a very short stress toolkit, and then I'm going to take you through the key tools that we use when tackling anxiety. So let's start with stress. Let's say it's stress. I just want to check my time here. Okay. So if you're going to tackle stress, right, if it's too many plates spinning or I feel like the chair is overloaded with weight, first we got to evaluate, what have I stacked on the chair, right? Let's evaluate those stressors. What is on your plate? What are the things you're being asked to do? What is falling off the plate? What are the things, one of the things that tends to add stress is the sense that I no longer know what I am committed to do. Like I have so many things and there are so many open loops, there are so many little bits and pieces that they're not all in one place. I feel like I have to be forgetting something because there's too much stuff. So a great first step is just cataloging what you are committed to. The other thing you want to take stock of is where your time is going. There was another wonderful Grad Academy talk from a few years back, I think, that asks students to track your time like it's money, because it really is. If you understand where your time is going, it will also be incredibly helpful in figuring out which of these commitments, which of the books on the chair are the ones that I can do, should do, have to do, versus maybe are more weight than they are worth, right? What is taking the most mental or emotional space for you? And once you have stock of this, you also want to think about what is in the tank, so to speak, what your capacity is, right? If this is the stack of books on the chair, you're also going to look at the chair, right? Are there some things that are fundamentally creating a little bit of instability in that chair, right? What's your mental health like? Do you have the support that you need? Are you getting the sleep that you need? Have you eaten anything recently? Do you have any significant conflict going on? Is there somebody that you are in an active fight with? Is there somebody who things don't feel quite right? Those are things that, while they may not be the primary stressor, right? They're not the book that's on the chair. They're something that is going to make it harder to do the things that you're already trying to do, right? And let's also appreciate that there are global stressors as well that take a toll, right? And some of these stressors are likely to be outside of your control, right? We just need to know that they're going. Once you have your items, you know what you're trying to deal with, it's time to manage your stress load. I wish there was another way. I wish I could say, like, okay, here's the magic formula, do this and that and the other thing, and then you'll suddenly be able to do all of it. But that's not the way that this works. I'm so sorry. If you have taken stock of where your time goes, if you have your list, and you put a time estimation next to each one of those things, and then you look at the time that you have on your schedule, if the math is not adding up, if the math is not mathing, you just don't have the capacity to do those things, which means your stress is highly justified, right? And at that point, you need to start to manage the load. You need to start saying yes to saying no. And I'm going to give you a trick. Saying yes to saying no doesn't have to mean, heck no, bye, like I'm not doing that. No. It can be talking to your collaborators and saying, yes, I'm absolutely willing to take that on. Of note, it is going to push X, Y, and Z back on my list of to-dos, meaning we might not make the original submission deadline that we were planning on. Are you okay with this? Right? Your no can be a qualified yes, right? But it has to be a no, I don't have space on my plate for anymore, so we can move stuff off my plate to put the new thing on. But that still counts as a no, right? What you're doing is you're helping people manage those expectations. Once you've got your yeses in a line, you also can use the Eisenhower decision matrix to try to figure out what I should do. Who's seen this before? Anybody? A couple, okay. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking that list of things that you got going on and you're looking at how urgent they are, like how soon do I need these done, and how important they are. If it is an urgent and important item, the goal is to do it now, and put it on your schedule. If it is an important item but it's not particularly urgent, maybe schedule a time to do it. And for those not important things, your choices are delegate or delete, right? Are there things I can fully take off my plate? Are there things that I can ask someone else to help me with? And I think when I tried to use this process for myself, when I was just starting out trying to toy with it, I would end up adding a lot of things into my list of things to do, into that matrix, that were actually not required. They were things that it felt like I should do. That should statement is in there, right? Should statements will get you in a lot of trouble if you listen to them too much. So I also want you to ask the magic question for beating perfectionism. Perfectionism asks us to do it exactly right, 100%, do it all the way so that you can be sure of an outcome. And we also just talked about, right, the uncertainty thing. Dr. Perfect, as I put it with the kids, Dr. Perfect is a liar. Dr. Perfect says, if you study for that spelling test for 10 hours, you'll know for sure that you'll get an A. And the answer is, that's not true. You cannot possibly know for sure. And if you devote all of your time for that spelling test, you've lost available time for anything else, right? So all of that time, you've sacrificed. So the magic question for beating perfectionism, to take away Dr. Perfect's power, as I'd put it with my 10-year-olds, is what if this were easy? When I was in school, I wrote a very long paper. And as a part of the paper, you could, this was an undergrad, as part of the paper, you could do essentially like cover art. You could do some artistic work to illustrate some points. It would be a few points of extra credit. This would be great. I like art. And so my brain was like, yes, let's do it all the way. I'm going to make the most elaborate and perfect piece of art for this paper that you have ever seen. And it's like a 30-page paper. So this is not like a tiny paper. But of course, right, the paper, I have to do it. I'm writing it. This art, though, man, I am working on it and working on it and working on it, and I'm not getting to it. And this question, if you ask this question, what if this were easy? It cuts to the heart of this. What if this were easy? If this were easy, I wouldn't do the art, right? I would turn in the paper, the core of what I need to do. If you can give yourself permission some of the time to pick a standard that is good, maybe not perfect, you are likely to cut your stress in half, because you are also likely to get things done. And those things are then books that are not on your chair anymore. All right, even with excellent time management strategies, even with excellent delegation and figuring out what you gotta do, we're still likely to experience some stress, and we are still sometimes likely to have stuff overflowing off the plate. So we also need to have some healthy coping. I'm not gonna spend much time on this because I have a feeling that everybody in this room has their toolkit of 4 or 5 things that they know help de-stress them. But what I will say is, I do want to call out the oldie but a goodie: put your own oxygen mask on first. Right? First being a really important keyword. If you have not managed your own mental health, your own physical health, you are going to have a really terrible time trying to get all that other stuff done. Some examples of oxygen masks would be getting 8 hours of sleep if you have not gotten more than 5 for the last week or so. The average grad student, by the way, reports getting 6.5 hours of sleep a night, that's like drinking a beer and going to class every day. Right? You're probably not over the legal limit, but it's probably also not your best functioning. Other examples of oxygen masks would be taking a minute to exercise before writing that email to your advisor, not after. Brushing your teeth, showering, drinking a cup of coffee, going and spending 10 minutes with a friend. People think about these things as a break from work. They think about it like, oh, I'm sneaking away. It's like illicit. Like, oh, I'm gonna go sneak away and work out before I do the thing that I'm supposed to do. I think that is fundamentally wrong. This is a marathon, not a sprint, right? If a marathoner doesn't stop Alyssa mentioned I've run marathons. I've run one marathon very slowly, just to be clear. I am not an expert on marathons. What I can say with great confidence is if if you don't stop or find the time to drink water or to eat in the process of a marathon, you won't finish the marathon. Your body will stop you, hard stop, right? The reason that we run marathons is because the first guy who ran a marathon died in running a marathon because he did not do those things. So doing these things, anything that I just listed, whatever your oxygen mask is, this is not a break from work, it is essential to your work. If you don't take care of your body, if you don't eat that food, if you don't sleep, you won't be finishing your program. It's as simple as that. So you gotta take care of yourself. All right. A few, again, everybody has their own toolkit, and there's hundreds of coping tools that you could Google, and there's really big lists of them. But here's a few research-backed activities that reduce stress. Pick and choose what you prefer. All right, now we get to my even more favorite topic than stress, which is anxiety. I'm going to give you, again, this is the quick version of what I do 40 hours a week all day long. Oh yeah, okay, point it there. So when you are dealing with anxiety, the first thing you gotta do is recognize when it hits you. Once we are adults, we are likely fairly tuned in to our sympathetic nervous system, meaning I could ask you 0 to 10, how anxious are you right now, right? If 10 is I'm having an active panic attack, 0 is not at all, I'm laying on the couch and I'm watching a nature documentary and it's really chill, you could probably give me a number. What we need following that is the ability to point to where is that anxiety coming from. And this is the part where people start to fall down. Can you tune in enough to the thoughts that you're having, to the circumstances you're in, to say, this is why I'm anxious right now? If you can, and if it is a thought that is doing the dirty work, then what we wanna do is take a step back from the thought, and we wanna unhook from it. A common catchphrase in my world would be, you are not your thoughts. And the predictions that anxiety makes are not guarantees. So the common thinking traps with anxiety are catastrophizing, that's overestimating the likelihood of something really bad happening. Magnification, taking a not so good thing and putting the magnifying glass on it, making it feel really big. And incapability, back to that handleability. It is anxiety telling you you can't handle something that you actually can. So if you are feeling anxious and you can tune in and say, yes, I am nervous because my brain is telling me, anxiety is telling me that I am about to bomb this presentation. You can check for these thinking traps. You can see whether they're there. And the most instinctive thing to do is to debate with your brain, right? To go, no, it's gonna be fine. You've given a million of these before. It's like, this is gonna be okay. And does it really matter either? It's okay, it's gonna be okay. The trouble with debating with your thoughts is that it is like starting a game of chess where there's an infinite number of white and black pieces, right? You're gonna say it's gonna be fine because of this, and your brain will hit you back with nah, because of this. And did you consider this other thing too? Did you consider that you didn't get enough sleep last night because your 2-year-old was playing with your ear when you went in there at 3 a.m. because she was really tired, and then you laid down in the bed? And then you're gonna hit it back with, no, it's gonna be fine because. And this is what rumination is, right? And what we're doing here is actually not fixing anything, we're not feeling better. We're giving a lot of attention to anxiety, and there's still no certainty, right? So instead of challenging these things, and I have some ways to challenge this. My favorite of these is the $1 million question, which just uses cold hard cash to access the rational thinking part of our brain, right? If I asked you to place $1 million bet and say, is this worry thought true? Is it likely to happen? Would you say yes or no, right? Am I likely to bomb this presentation, given that I've given presentations like this 1 million times before? $1 million bet, no. I think it's unlikely. This will help, but it won't help a ton because you will still feel anxious because the uncertainty is still there, right? So instead, we want to take a step back from those thoughts. We want to unhook from them. Unhooking from thoughts means allowing them to be there, not actually debating with them, but noticing them. You can think about them like leaves on a stream floating past, right? I'm not gonna make it go, right? I'm gonna let it go. You can also ask the question, not is it true, but is it helpful? If I focus on this thought, if I debate with it, if I try to figure out the answer, is it going to serve me in any way, right? If you have an automatic negative thought that is about your person, right? I'm a crappy person. I'm a terrible presenter. I am a fraud. I'm an imposter. I shouldn't be here. Those thoughts may or may not be true. I could be, y'all don't know, I could be a terrible person, and I could absolutely be a fraud and an imposter. I don't even know, because I don't have any way to benchmark that. But what I do know is not whether or not it's true. What I know is that me focusing on that, particularly in this moment when I'm doing this, is really unhelpful. It's not going to serve me in any way, right? It's only going to pull me out of this presentation I'm trying to give. So instead of trying to figure out the thought, instead of trying to debate with it, instead of trying to push it away, is it helpful to you? Is it serving you? And if it's not, all right, it's a leaf on the stream. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I'm going to refocus my attention on the thing that matters. And the bonus is, when you refocus your thoughts and your attention away from those things, your brain will offer them up to you less, because your brain is essentially a learning algorithm, right? It wants to give you things that are helpful and that will protect you and will serve you. So if you don't give attention to those thoughts, you'll actually get them less. All right, the most important thing when it comes to tackling anxiety. Avoidance is what maintains anxiety, right? We talked about it, cell phone bars. Increased avoidance means increased anxiety. For example, with social anxiety, avoidance would be, rather than saying the wrong thing, I just won't talk. Rather than risk judgment, I just won't do stuff. I won't participate. And then this is true for other people too when you're in an interaction with someone else who's anxious. Rather than wait in silence or awkwardness, oh, I'll just jump in and answer that question. I'll try to help you feel better by, preemptively not inviting you to this thing, which I feel like you won't go to. If I put this another way, it's how can I be certain that I won't be judged, criticized, or rejected? And the only way to be sure is to just not go, right? Just not do it. So if you want to shrink anxiety, if you want to build confidence, we got to do the opposite of avoidance. Our goal is exposure. Exposure is just a fancy word for saying taking small and manageable steps in the direction of the scary thing, in the direction of your fears. I think of exposure as this very basic ABC recipe. And Alyssa mentioned that I gave a TED Talk on this. You can look it up online. But this is the core of it. It is the idea that anxiety plus bravery equals confidence. That is the recipe for feeling confident in any situation. And the important thing to know about this is that anxiety is not the problem. It's actually a core ingredient. So the way that our brain learns safety is through something called inhibitory learning. And inhibitory learning requires fear to be present in order to rewrite the story for something. You need to be scared, do the thing anyway, and have a different outcome than you predicted, right? Things don't have to go perfect. You actually could do the cringy thing, or it could be awkward, or you could make a social mistake. But you have to handle it, right? You come out the other side. This is what builds confidence over time. Yeah. So if you are going to attempt exposure, AKA brave practice, you want to make a ladder, right? Figure out what you're working toward. If your goal is to present something, if your goal is to face your fear of dogs. My aunt just texted me saying she's terrified of mice and what should she do. You can pick anything that freaks you out. Your goal is to make a ladder of steps in that direction and then start to practice. If again, 10 is a panic attack and 0 is nothing at all, your goal is to hit that middle ground, right? That sweet spot where I'm not so freaked out that I'm gonna automatically run away, but I'm also not doing nothing. You think about it kind of like a workout, right? And the ground rules for any exposure, for any brave practice, are the person who's being brave is in the driver's seat, right? So if you're helping someone else, make sure that you are taking that step back and letting them lead. That hard work, the hard work of bravery, deserves reward. You want to start where you're going to taste victory, right? Start low enough that you can do it and that you can practice, the same way that if I was training someone to to pick up, 100-pound weights, I wouldn't like set a 100-pound weight in front of them and be like, do 10 reps. They would not have much confidence following that, right? And slow and steady wins the race. I also down here mentioned safety behaviors. Safety behaviors are the things that we do to try to keep ourselves safe while doing exposures, and they inhibit learning. Meaning, if I'm a person who has social anxiety and I'm concerned about blushing, I cake on the makeup to make sure no one could possibly see me blush. I wear a hairstyle that obscures the part of my face that I'm worried is gonna flush. I wear only high-necked tops. We need to start to fade those things, because what we want is the kind of learning that says, I did blush and I handled it. I did blush and nobody cared. Versus, I can do this social thing, but only if I wear the high neck, cake on the makeup, so that no one can see the bad thing happening, right? So some examples for social anxiety. Have a look at this. And I have two flavors of this. There's the standard, meaning these are the things that we would do in everyday life. I say hi to someone new, I start a conversation at a gathering, polite disagreement of an opinion in a group. But once you've got those down, if you really want to root out fear, if you really want to tackle anxiety, you're also going to want to start to test out some of the specific negative things that worry predicts will happen. So that might mean doing some paradoxical exposures, which is essentially brave practice where you actually test out the bad thing happening, right? Walking out of a bathroom with toilet paper stuck to your shoe, answering a question wrong on purpose in front of other people and seeing what they do. And then I mentioned this is one of the ground rules. We want to reward bravery. Really all that means is let's use positive reinforcement. We have 70 years of really good behavioral psychology research that says that positive reinforcement works really well. Take advantage of it, right? If you do something hard, give yourself credit for it. Reward that bravery. Here what you're seeing is So in clinical psychology, an internship is kind of like a residency. You are required to do one in order to get the degree. It's clinical training. Mine was at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which meant I was away from my family, my partner. And it's hard, it's hard. It's part of grad school. So I made myself a reward chart where if I just went to work, I got a sticker. And I loved it. And then if I made it through the whole week, by again, going to work and doing the things I was supposed to do, I gave myself some sort of reward, some sort of treat. And you can see here, this again goes back to how far back our relationship goes. Here's Alyssa time. That was my treat. It was very exciting. All right. And I'll say for the anxiety toolkit, this is the last but not least, is acceptance. So there are some times where anxiety can't be avoided, right? But it doesn't have to stop you. You cannot guarantee safety no matter how hard you try. You cannot predict the future no matter how hard you try. You cannot know what will happen. And you can't control your feelings. You can't stop any of the feelings that show up. They are like the weather, right? They are clouds in the sky. You can't stop them. They're just a natural reaction to the circumstances, no matter how hard you try. So you have to accept those things. And I think about acceptance as like being chained to an elephant that is like out for a walk, I can't stop the elephant from moving. I actually can't stop myself from moving. My choice is really, how do I move with it, right? Am I dragged? Do I walk alongside it? Do I find a silver lining and go for an elephant ride, which sounds kind of fun, even if it's not the direction I maybe want to go? If you want to get through something big and hard, you got to figure out how to move with the elephant, because there's some parts that are not avoidable, right? But we have really good examples of anxiety not stopping people. One of my favorites is Ringo Starr. So Ringo Starr, in a Rolling Stone article, famously said that he has significant enough stage fright that has never abated, it never went away, that he threw up before every Beatles performance. for 40 years. They performed a lot, y'all. So there was a lot of puking going on. And he said, I always was jealous of my bandmates who could just like amble on stage. I had to run. I had to run or I wouldn't go at all. So he'd puke, run on stage, and then perform. That's severe anxiety. If you're throwing up, it's probably pretty strong, right? But that anxiety didn't stop him from participating in one of the arguably most successful bands in recent memory, right? It does not have to stop you. All right, so last but not least, and I'll do this fairly quick so we have a few minutes, how to help others. So all of what I just described is hard. It is hard to do, and particularly that anxiety piece, facing fears is really uncomfortable. You have to decide that like, I care about this and I really want to do it. And while I do always pitch and suggest that people reward bravery, right? If you do something hard, give yourself credit for it. It's also typically not enough when thinking about motivation for hard things. Nobody likes doing things that they're bad at for no reason just because they're told to. So self-determination theory would tell us that we all do well if we can, meaning we have the capacity to master something, if we care, if we have a purpose for putting in that effort, and if we choose, if we have the autonomy to decide what path forward we take. So if you are trying to help someone be brave, please, if they're afraid to go off the high dive, don't shove them in the pool, right? Figure out how to help them take those steps and how to harness their own interest. So if you are having a hard time with getting to CAN, right? If they don't have the capacity for mastery yet, scaffold things for them, right? Help figure out what parts they need more support with and what parts you can step back and they do have the capacity to do, right? If you are all of you in grad school, if you are eventually faculty and you are taking on your own grad students and they have never submitted a peer-reviewed article before, right? Or they've never written a paper to the quality that you're interested in, figure out what parts you can help them with, right? What's the step that you can let them do on their own? What's the step you have to take the step back? Rather than providing reassurance, it's gonna be fine, give them the facts, give them information. Reassurance is a way to try to artificially remove anxiety, and that's not particularly helpful. What will help is having objective and meaningful facts about here's what will happen, here's what could happen, here's what we don't know for sure. And then once they have that information, instead of saying it'll be fine, we want to instead reinforce the capacity to cope, right? I know this is hard, but I also think you can handle this. I think you can do it. In one of the scariest academic experiences of my life when I was in grad school, and also one where I did not in any way handle the stress or anxiety well. I made every wrong choice. Like everything I've just put up there, I was like, I didn't do any of it. I did not sleep well, I did not eat well, I did not manage my stress well, I did not take breaks, I didn't do any of it. One of my advisors passed away. I had two primary advisors. One of them passed away when I was in grad school. And they did a tribute symposium at a major, one of our like every other year conferences. And I was invited to be on the stage and do one of the talks. There were 4 talks. And it was the chair who is the guy who has gotten like every Lifetime Achievement Award available. It was the new hotshot up and coming professor who again was already tenured. It was my other advisor who had recently received the equivalent of like a Swiss MacArthur Genius Grant. And then it was me. And my advisor, his name was Dante Cicchetti. Of course, they had me go last, right? After all these people, absolutely, right? Yes, make the 4th year grad student just like sit up there. But my advisor did the best thing. He wrote me these notes throughout the whole thing. And they were they're probably bullshit if we're being real. But he wrote these notes that reinforced my capacity to cope. It was, you can do this. It was, these people are very excited to hear you speak. It was, I believe in you, right? Those are things that, if you get those messages, right, particularly the, I believe in you, right? That's something that doesn't require validation or refutation. That is your stance as an advisor to how you feel about your mentee. And that's typically more reassuring than the you'll be fine will ever be. If you're trying to get to care, make sure that you know the purpose behind it, right? We want to validate their concerns, right? If saying I'm anxious is like an SOS signal, SOS signals will stop as soon as the information is received. So if you can say back, I get that you're feeling anxious and it makes sense that you're feeling anxious, very often you can move toward productive conversation. The things that push people toward care, though, is understanding what avoidance will get them and what the benefit would be of brave action, right? And finally, getting to choose. So as much as possible, we want to leave the choice in that anxious person's hands for how they want to move forward. But we also can stack the deck in favor of bravery, right? Let's make sure that we, as supportive individuals, are providing opportunities for confidence building. I'm not opting you out of the party just because I already know you're pretty socially anxious, right? I'm still going to invite you. I am still going to encourage you to choose to go present that thing. I'm going to model bravery. That is jumping in the pool and saying, the water's fine, right? I'm going to do the scary thing and model it being handled. I'm going to celebrate and reward your brave actions, right? I'm going to cheer you on and make sure we go out to lunch if you do a hard thing. And you can also help that person mix in fun. So one way to increase the enjoyment factor of something inherently hard is you can take anything out of this toolkit, right? If you are anxious about presenting, can you present something hilarious, like a totally stupid presentation, to a group of your close friends first? Can you have snacks present? Can you make beautiful slides that were actually really fun to make because you're a person who likes to draw drawings like I do when I drew you these pictures? Can you make it a party? Is it gonna be a PowerPoint slide party? Oh my gosh, so fun. Can you make it a game? It's PowerPoint bingo. Can you make it valuable? Can you reward the person who wins? Can you make it surprising? Can you pick topics that are interesting to people, right? Hopefully what I've done in that example is just made something that sounds probably awful, which is practicing presenting in front of others, and made it sound like, oh yeah, okay, that's not the worst. Mixing in fun will help. And this is my last thing, last but not least. I want you to identify your why. Yeah, let's set that down. Okay, I have a glass of water here. How many people want to drink this glass of water? Yeah, I'm seeing some people be like, I don't know. Yeah, like maybe some hands go up. Probably depends on how thirsty you are, right? How I don't know, how much you like still water. I'm a big fan of sparkling water, like a problematic level of interest in sparkling water. So I feel like, this is fine. Okay. Who wants to drink it now? Yeah, probably no, right? Probably everyone is like, I will pass, thank you. What if I told you that this water will guarantee you a pass on your dissertation defense? What if I told you that this water would cure cancer? And if you took this to any person who had cancer, they could drink it and they would be immediately cured. Would you drink the water? Would you fight me for it? Would you pay me for this glass? This is an exposure. This is a brave thing. It is inherently uncomfortable, might be gross, might be bad. But if you know why you are doing it, you can do anything, gross, sad, scary, as long as you know why, as long as you have a really, really good reason. So think about your why. So this is the summary, y'all. If you are trying to get the basic bullet points, if you are dealing with anxiety, if you are dealing with stress, your goal is to make a plan for how to handle the thing you're trying to handle, and to ride the wave of anxiety when it shows up. Don't avoid it, but get uncomfortable on purpose, do the thing that matters, and move forward. That is how you build confidence. that is how you will reduce anxiety over time, and it is how you'll move through the stressors in your life. And that's what I have for you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hecht, for being with us today. I'm just going to make a quick transition on the screen here and ask you all if you would please take a moment to fill out our workshop feedback survey. This just helps us inform what you got out of this session, whether it's something we want to consider in the future, and we are open to any suggestions that you all have. Also, we have snacks and treats and some drinks out in the lobby, so you are welcome to partake in those. We're going to hang out for a while, so if you have more questions for Dr. Hecht, you can ask her there as well. And just thank you once more. Thank you to Allison from Greenspun, UNLV TV, and all of you who came today, as well as the Grad College team. And I hope you have a great evening. Thank you.